Hello and just hello everyone, welcome to class 12 biology. In this video we are going to discuss about one of the non-infectious human diseases called cancer. Okay, so the things that we will discuss about regarding cancer is causes of cancer, diagnosis or detection of cancer, and finally we will be talking about the treatment of cancer.
We are seeing about 50 patients a day, and that would add up to over 1,000 a month. 80 to 90% of our oral cancer patients are from chewing tobacco. This is Mukesh's story.
मेरा नाम मुकेश है। मैंने सिर्फ एक साल भूख का चबाया। अब मुझे कैंसर हुआ है, अब मेरा ऑपरेशन वाला है। शायद मैं इसके आगे बोल नहीं सकूंगा।
Unfortunately, Mukesh could not be saved. And he was only 24. Kenny, pan, gutka, pan masala, they're all killers.
So you must have seen this short video clip many a times before a movie starts in PVR theaters and in cinema halls, right? So this movie or this video clip was created in order to spread awareness among general public regarding the dangers of chewing tobacco. Chewing of tobacco can lead to cancer, and especially oral cancer. And oral cancer, like in Mukesh, it could prove quite deadly, right? So talking about cancer, it is one of the most dreaded human diseases in the world. It is a non-infectious human disease, but it kills millions of people every year worldwide. According to the World Health Organization, about 9.6 million people died because of cancer in year 2018. Right? There are many types of cancer, but some of the common cancers include cancer of lungs, breast, colorectal, prostate, skin, and stomach. So these are the common ones. Since it kills millions of people every year, even in India, about 1 million people die every year in India because of cancer, right? And especially because of oral cancer. So, since cancer kills millions of people, therefore cancer is one of the most intense areas of research in biology, and in medicine. If we look at the difference between a normal cell and a cancerous cell, in case of a normal cell, its cell growth and differentiation is highly controlled and regulated. There are different kinds of regulatory mechanisms which controls the growth and differentiation of a normal cell, right? So there are different mechanisms which ensures how much a cell should grow, how much a cell should divide, right? And a cell should become what type of cell, right? What a muscle cell or a nervous tissue or a kidney cell, right? So there are different regulatory mechanisms which ensures the cell growth and cell differentiation in case of a normal cell. But when these regulatory mechanisms break down, when these regulatory mechanisms fail to act upon certain cells due to any reason, that can lead to the cell becoming a cancerous cell, right? So a cancerous cell is that cell which shows abnormal cell growth, right? A cell which grows uncontrollably, it is called as a cancer. One such mechanism is contact inhibition. A normal cell shows a property called as contact inhibition. So what is contact inhibition? It's a property which is shown by normal cells during its cell growth. So let's see over here, right? In case of a normal cell, when a cell divides in a particular space, it divides as long as there is a space available. As soon as it comes in contact with the neighboring cells or other cells, it stops cell division. Right. That is called as contact inhibition. Since it comes in contact with the neighboring cells and it stops its cell division, therefore it is called as contact inhibition. That particular property is called as contact inhibition, and due to contact inhibition, it forms a single layer of cells on this particular substrate. Right. Therefore, it forms a monolayer of normal cells. But in case of cancerous cells, the cancerous cells, they lose this particular property of contact inhibition. If you take a look over here, if a cancerous cell divides, since it has lost the property of contact inhibition, it keeps on dividing. Even though it comes in contact with the other cells, it doesn't matter. The cancerous cell keeps on dividing, and therefore it forms a mass of cells. Right? And that particular mass of cells is called as a tumor. Right? So a cancerous cell leads to formation of tumor because it has lost the property of contact inhibition. It does not know when to stop. Normal cells, they know when to stop. As soon as it comes in contact with the other cell, right, a normal cell will stop dividing. Therefore, it forms a single layer of cell. But in case of cancerous cell, it does not know when to stop because it has lost the property of contact inhibition. So therefore, it keeps on dividing, therefore leading to the formation of a mass of cell called as tumor. In this another diagram, you can clearly see that the normal cells, if grown on a petri dish, it keeps on growing as long as there is space available. As soon as the space runs out, as soon as the normal cells they come in contact with each other, they stop dividing. That is called as the property of contact inhibition. Due to contact inhibition, the cells they form only a single layer over the petri dish. But in case of transformed cells, in case of cancerous cells, if they are allowed to grow on the same petri dish, what happens is it keeps on growing even after the space has run out. Even after the cells they come in contact with each other, they do not stop dividing, and therefore they form many layers of cells one over each other, and therefore it leads to formation of tumor, right? So that happens because it has lost the property of contact inhibition. So contact inhibition is one of the regulatory mechanisms which the cancer cells seems to have lost. We have learned that uncontrolled cell division could lead to the formation of tumors or mass of cells. Tumors are of two types, benign tumors and malignant tumors. In case of benign tumors, the cells of the benign tumors they remain confined within their original location, right? And therefore it causes very little damage to the body. But in case of malignant tumors, the cells of the malignant tumors they can grow very rapidly. They can invade the surrounding tissues and therefore causes damage to the surrounding tissues by competing for nutrients and other resources. And sometimes these cells they can undergo something called metastasis. So what is metastasis? During metastasis, the cells of the malignant tumor they can leave their original location and spread to other parts of the body through bloodstream. And during this particular process, new tumors are formed in those other locations, right? That is called as metastasis. This picture over here shows the process of metastasis. Here is the malignant tumor. The cells of the malignant tumor they can leave their original location and spread to other body parts through bloodstream. And during this process, they can cause new tumors in those other locations. This is called as metastasis. And metastasis is the most feared property of malignant tumor. You must have heard doctors saying that, sorry, we cannot save your life, your cancer has spread to other body parts. What the doctor means is the cancer has metastasized. And after metastasis, it becomes really difficult for the doctor to save the life of the cancer patient. Okay, so it is not mentioned in your textbook, but I would like you to know that in other resources it has been mentioned that the term cancer is specifically reserved for malignant tumors, not for benign tumors. Benign tumors they are not called as cancers. Malignant tumors they are called as cancers. So what causes cancer? In other words, what causes the transformation of normal cells into cancerous cells? Right. So the transformation of normal cells into cancerous cells is caused by certain agents known as carcinogens. So carcinogens are the agents responsible for causing cancer. So carcinogens can be physical, chemical or biological. Right. So physical carcinogen you can think about radiations. Ionizing radiations like X-rays they can cause cancer. Non-ionizing radiations like ultraviolet radiations they can also cause cancer. So these radiations they are physical agents or physical carcinogens. About chemical carcinogens, you can think about components of tobacco smoke. You must have heard that smoking tobacco can lead to cancer, lung cancer. Right? So the chemicals present within the tobacco smoke are responsible for causing lung cancer. So they are chemical carcinogens. Regarding biological carcinogens, you can think about viruses like HPV, human papilloma virus, Epstein-Barr virus. These viruses they can also cause cancer because these viruses they carry something called viral oncogenes. Oncogenes means genes which causes cancer. Right? So these viruses like human papilloma virus, Epstein-Barr virus, they carry viral oncogenes, and if you're infected by these viruses, you can suffer from cancer. So these are some external agents responsible for causing cancer. Apart from that, your normal cell also contains cellular oncogenes or proto-oncogenes. Cellular oncogenes or proto-oncogenes are those genes which are inactive. But when these cells become active, when proto-oncogenes becomes oncogene upon activation by certain chemicals, they can cause cancer. So these genes, they can cause cancer upon activation. right? So these are cellular oncogenes are present from the birth itself, whereas these physical, chemical and biological agents, they are external carcinogens. In order to save the life of a person suffering from cancer, it is really important that the cancer is detected in its early stages. If the cancer is detected in its early stages, there are effective treatment options which are available for the doctor to save the life of the patient. Right? So there are different types of cancer detection and diagnosis methods. The first one is biopsy. In biopsy, a piece of the suspected tissue is cut into thin sections, it is stained and then examined under microscope by a pathologist. It is also called as histopathological studies. Right? During biopsy, what the doctors will do is they will take a piece of the tissue which you suspect to be cancer. You maybe say you have a lump growing under your skin, maybe you have a tumor growing in your breast, right? So what doctors will do is they will take a small piece of the tissue and they will stain it and observe under microscope to determine whether that is a malignant tumor or not, whether it is cancer or not. Okay, so that is the first method, that is biopsy. It is quite invasive method. In the second one is blood and bone marrow test. That is done in case of leukemias or blood cancer. It looks for the increased cell counts in your blood, or it looks for abnormal cells in your bone marrow, right, which can lead to leukemias or blood cancer. The third one is imaging tests. Right? You have radiography like X-ray, you have CT scan, computer tomography, you have magnetic resonance imaging or MRI. Right? So these imaging tests, they are done for the detection of cancers in the internal organs. Right? Some of the cancers, they cannot be felt with your touch. Right? If the cancer is occurring within your internal organs, you should go for imaging tests. And then we have antibody tests, which checks for the presence of specific antibodies which are produced against cancer-specific antigens. If there is presence of such antibodies within the body of a person, that could indicate the presence of cancer within the patient's body, the person's body. Okay, so that is antibody tests. And finally, we have molecular biology techniques, which detects the genes which makes an individual susceptible to developing certain cancers. And if you can find out the genes which makes a person vulnerable of developing certain cancers, what the person can do is the person can change his or her lifestyle. Right? A person can avoid certain carcinogens which can lead to the formation of certain cancers to which he or she is susceptible to. Let's say if the molecular biology techniques finds out that a person has a gene which makes that person susceptible to lung cancer, the person can avoid smoking, the person can avoid polluted places in order to prevent development of lung cancer in later stages of his or her life. Regarding the treatment of cancer, some of the options available for the treatment of cancer are hormone therapy, surgery, bone marrow transplantation, chemotherapy, targeted therapy, radiation therapy, and immunotherapy. So these are some of the options available for treatment of cancer. In your textbook, surgery, chemotherapy, radiation therapy, and immunotherapy are mentioned. So we will briefly discuss about these treatment options. So the first treatment method is surgery, during which the doctor surgically removes the cancer cells. Right? In this particular method, the doctor has to ensure that all the cancerous cells gets removed. Right? If a single cell gets left behind due to accident, what happens? The cancer can undergo relapse. The person will suffer from cancer later on. Right? So in order to ensure that all the cancerous cells are removed during surgery, the doctor also removes a small portion of healthy tissue along with the malignant tumor. Right? And the second method is radiation therapy. In radiation therapy, the tumor cells are killed by using strong radiations like X-rays and gamma rays. So these strong radiations like X-rays and gamma rays, if they are targeted at the tumor cell, they will kill only the tumor cell and not the healthy cells. Over here also, the doctor has to ensure that all the tumor cells gets irradiated and none of the tumor cell gets left behind. Otherwise, the cancer will occur again. Right? And then we have chemotherapy, in which special drugs called chemotherapeutic drugs are used to kill the cancerous cells. These drugs or these chemicals, they kill rapidly dividing cells. They will kill all the rapidly dividing cells. Since cancerous cells are rapidly dividing cells, chemotherapeutic drugs will kill the cancerous cells, right? So you might have seen that if a person is undergoing chemotherapy, the person tends to lose his or her hair, right? The hair follicles are also rapidly dividing cells. The hair follicles also contain rapidly dividing cells, and therefore the chemotherapeutic drugs, along with killing cancerous cells, they also kill the hair follicle cells, and therefore the person tends to lose his or her hair during chemotherapy. Now, in many cases, the doctor, what they will do is they will perform surgery, radiation and chemotherapy in combination in order to treat the patient. That becomes much more efficient. If all the three methods are used, it becomes more efficient, because during surgery some of the cancerous cells may get left behind. But if they get left behind, it will be taken care by the chemotherapy. During radiation therapy also, some of the cancerous cells may escape being irradiated. During that time, chemotherapy will be effective. Right. So a combination of surgery, radiation therapy and chemotherapy is often used in order to treat the cancer patients. And then we have immunotherapy, in which we use the patient's own immune system to kill the cancerous cell. Right? But that cannot happen automatically. Right? Why? Because the cancer cells, they have the ability to avoid detection by the immune system. Right? Since the cancer cell belongs to the patient's own body, the patient's immune system automatically won't attack the cancerous cells. The cancer cells, they can avoid detection. In order to make the patient's immune system to kill the cancerous cells, doctors will inject the patient's body with cytokines such as alpha interferon. This particular word is important. Alpha interferon is a cytokine which induces or which activates the person's immune system to start killing only the cancer cells. Right? If you inject a person with alpha interferon, the person's immune cells like macrophages and natural killer cells, they will seek out cancerous cells and kill them. Right? So alpha interferon is a biological response modifier. So these are the methods which are provided in your textbook as a treatment methods for cancer. Right? Next, we will discuss about the drugs and alcohol abuse. Right? So please read about drugs and alcohol abuse in your textbook, and then you can watch the next video. Thank you.